We're a community that's so used to being outside and misfits and not able to enter the room in a lot of places. And so we should not allow that to happen within our community as well if we want to feel proud of our own community. I'm Mari. I'm a writer, podcaster, and storyteller. I'm bi, I'm gender fluid, and I'm Indo-Caribbean. Add the disability onto that, and it's a lot of very different experiences that you don't see represented anywhere. I feel like people often think people like me don't exist. And a lot of the time I feel like my experiences aren't valued or understood because they're so particular. That's why I think it's important to talk about these experiences. I wanted to hear from artists about the different experiences they deal with, and the barriers they face and how that influences their work. I wanted to speak to artists who didn't care about overcoming their disabilities, and instead embraced them and let their experiences fully inform their art. Wy Joung Kou is a visual artist who works mostly with mosaics and is a drummer with the Raw Taiko drumming group. I wanted to talk with Kou about their work and the accessibility of visual arts. Kou, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I'm sort of focusing in now on mostly mosaic as a visual artist. I think a lot about the fact that I chose a very labor-intensive medium. And as a physically, chronically ill person, I don't know why I did that. But I'm still happy with the decision. As a disabled person doing mosaic work, it's a constant negotiation with my body.
What do you do to help take care of yourself when you're doing this kind of work?
My major access need in terms of studio space is a place to rest, because I find when I'm doing mosaic work, 2 hours, 2 consecutive hours is about my maximum before I need to lay down for maybe 2 more hours and then I can go back. I think a lot about how to make a living as an artist. To make art, you need money, and to have money, you need to have a job. And if you have a job, which I can't work a full-time job, but if I'm working some type of job, I don't have the spoons to actually also focus on my arts practice. So for me, I feel like the only way that I can fully commit to my arts practice is if I have the resources to do that. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I think a lot about care, and I think all of the disabled people in my life also think a lot about care, and that reflects in their work. And care in a very nuanced way.
There is so much compassion that can be found in disabled arts that I think would be missed out otherwise if we didn't have disabled artists.
Definitely. I can't speak to all experiences of disability, but in terms of my art, I think big themes in my work is pain, grief, and then also the healing and joy and connection. If disabled people were not making art, I think there would just be so much that we're not getting.
Rosina Kazi is a musician and artist who runs Unit 2, a space dedicated to hosting performances by 2S LGBTQ artists. I wanted to ask them about the barriers in the music industry and what they're doing to build their own more inclusive community spaces instead. Do you want to start off telling us a bit about LAL and your music?
So I'm in an electronic, radical, racialized duo called LAL. We've been around for quite a long time. It's myself and Nicholas Murray. Black-brown duo, I'm queer, identified. And we also run this space called Unit 2, and it's a space dedicated to sort of QT, BIPOC, Two-Spirit, and friends. And we really try to have accessible space in terms of economic accessibility, but also physical accessibility. We wanted to create something that was alternative to what was happening in like the club scene, for example. And we found that it was just becoming more expensive. A lot of violence, whether it be sexual harassment or whether it be violence against racialized folks. And we just really wanted to create a space where people felt safer. I think we can shift things for people to feel safer. And that was the whole intention of Unit 2. I've definitely seen the language change. And I've seen people or organizations or institutions at least make an attempt to talk about CRIP or disability or racialized folks or, deaf and hard of hearing. So there's definitely, or indigenous issues as well. There's definitely an awareness. I think what bothers me is that when you look closely at the power structure of who runs things, that hasn't changed. It's still mostly white cis men. Maybe now there's more white cis women or queer and trans folks, but there's still an issue for me when it comes to power. Taking a second to really look at the organizations that you're working for or the crews that you're in and notice what's missing. It's the first thing I ask when I go to some meetings or whatnot, who's missing? And if we just stopped and said who's missing, that could actually shift a bunch of stuff. If this city, Toronto, is 55% racialized, and possibly folks who have disabilities, then that needs to change. Because everyone's going to get older and you're going to have a disability at some point. So we need to start looking at that now,
When we talk about art and media, it's important to look at not just who's in the room, but also who's not. We can learn so much about compassion and care from disabled artists, and we lose important perspectives without their voices in the conversation. I'm Mari. Thanks so much for listening.